I'm going to discuss how to write equations for lines. We've been talking about the three different forms for lines and how to graph each one. When you write an equation for a line, your options are really limited to point-slope form and slope-intercept form. And when you're writing an equation for a line, you actually kind of want to be lazy and choose whichever one is easiest to plug your given information into. So let's look at an example. In this example, we have a graph, and we want to write the equation for this line. I notice first that one of the points on here is easy to mark. What point is that? So we see we have a y-intercept of 3. And now, what else would we need to know to put this into one of these two forms? Point-slope form asks for any point and the slope, while slope-intercept form requires that the point that you know is the y-intercept and that you also know the slope. So which form should we use? I'm going to go with slope-intercept form, and I'm going to use my graph to count the slope. I see here that I'm going down 1 and right 2. This line is decreasing, which means my slope needs to be negative. So I went down 1 and right 2. I now know the slope and the y-intercept, so I can plug them into slope-intercept form. What type of line is this? Since this is a horizontal line, we know the slope is 0, and we can see here that the y-intercept is going through the point 0, 5. Or the y-intercept is the point 0, 5. We could put this in slope-intercept form and say y equals 0x plus 5. Or you might remember that every horizontal line has an equation of y equals some number. That number is always going to be the value of the y-intercept. So the equation for this line is y equals 5. In this example, we're not given a graph. What do? There are lots of ways to approach this, and I'm going to take one method that we could think of as the algebraic method. So I know the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I can find the slope of this line. So the slope of this line is negative 1/3. Notice neither of these points are the y-intercept. This point happens to be the x-intercept, but we don't have a form for a line that tells us what to do with the x-intercept. That means I want to plug this into point-slope form. And I could choose either of these points to use. If I use the first one, this is going to look like y minus 1 equals negative 1/3 times x plus 1. And if I use the second point, I would have y minus 0 equals negative 1/3 times x minus 2. Both of these options are correct to answer this problem. I want you to think about why. Why are these both correct answers? In this example, we again have a different type of information that we've been given. We're not looking at a graph, we're not looking at 2 points, but we do know that whatever our new line equation is, it has to be parallel to this one that's been given. So what do you know about the slopes of parallel lines? The slope of the line that's been given is negative 7/4, which means that the slope of our new line also needs to be negative 7/4. I'm going to ignore everything else in that line equation because no other part of it is important to me. The only thing I care about is the slope, because my new line has to be parallel. Now, the point that I'm given is not the y-intercept, so I'm going to choose to put this into point-slope form. So I'm going to say y minus 4 is equal to negative 7/4 times x plus 4. I want you to think here, why does that become x plus 4? This final example is similar to the last one, but I know that my new line is perpendicular to the line given. So again, I'm going to say the slope of the line given is negative 1/5, which means the slope of my line has to be the opposite reciprocal. So the slope given was negative, which means my slope will be positive, and the reciprocal of 1/5 is 5. So my new slope is 5. Now I notice this point is the y-intercept. So I can put this into slope-intercept form. Had I not noticed that that was the y-intercept, I might have tried to put it into point-slope form and said y minus 4 is equal to 5 times x minus 0, which is an equally correct and acceptable answer. Now, I want you to think about the different types of examples that I showed you here. We had a couple that had a graph. We had one that had 2 points. And then we had some examples that had a single point and a line parallel or perpendicular. What was similar about my process in each one, and what was different? Think about that and try to include it in your summary for this video.